A grandiose cosmic spectacle awaits on Earth, the passage of a comet, which can be observed with the naked eye. To celebrate this occasion, a party is being organized at the American Embassy in Berlin. The discoverer of the comet, Professor Starnoff, and his daughter Anna rejoice at the fact that they will be able to admire the unprecedented spectacle. At this time, the head of the embassy security service, Tom Parker, comes up to check their security. Meanwhile, the professor convinces Anna to take a place in the research group because his assistant Hinza does not have the necessary courage. Parker recognizes the professor and asks the couple to go into the hall, but then a call comes on his phone, after which he leaves the building. At this time, the Institute of Space Research reports to the professor that the calculations turned out to be incorrect and the comet will fly along a different trajectory. Anna calculates the course, and it turns out that there is less than an hour left before the impact with the Earth. Scientists warn the military. Colonel Waters finds out the details of the expected strike. Hinza predicts an impact similar to the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. The colonel gives the order to use the latest weapon against the comet, a microwave satellite located in Earth orbit. Although Hinza protests this decision, the satellite fires, but its beam cuts the comet into pieces. Meanwhile, Parker asks his wife to gather the child, since it is better for them to be away from Europe, where the strike is expected. They go to a military airport from where the country's leader is being evacuated. The first piece of debris falls onto the surface of the planet. Parker asks his wife to wait for their turn to board the plane, while he controls the landing. At this time, Anna arrives, concerned about her father's absence. They promise her that he will fly on the next flight. Parker accompanies her to the salon. When the colonel gives the order to take off, he tries to get out of the plane, but the landing is over and the colonel orders the captain to sit down. Parker takes the gun away from the boss, but other guards come and stun the guy. The plane takes off. Parker's family remains in freezing Berlin. 3 years after the disaster, a new ice age begins on the planet. Europe, shrouded in ice and snow, has become a dead zone, and life is only possible in areas closer to the equator. In Tangier, where the new United Northern States has been formed, the military receives information that the microwave satellite has woken up, but access to it remains in Berlin. Apparently, people appeared at the Space Institute who managed to crack the code. An expedition is immediately sent to reconnaissance, but the plane carrying them is destroyed by a microwave laser from the same satellite. Parker, who has left the service and survives with his dog, is hunting and notices a falling plane. The man understands that this is not just an accident. At this time, the colonel reports to the president of the new states about the disaster. The woman is concerned about this fact because if the satellite works again, it could be dangerous for all remaining aviation. The colonel admits that the satellite was originally made as a weapon, not a means of defense. Whoever has access to it will be able to control the entire world. The president of the new states orders a gathering of everyone who knows at least something about the operation of this satellite. The colonel finds Anna in Ecuador and asks her to fly to Tangier. Parker comes there too. They meet by chance on the street and recognize each other. The man admits that he tried to get to Berlin 8 times, but in the new realities, this is impossible. Anna herself would like to get to the Space Institute because her father never came for her, and she knows nothing about his fate. Anna takes the guy with her. The colonel is dissatisfied with the appearance of his former subordinate, but the man shows him the discovered black box from the crashed plane. He realized what happened and asked to be included in the expedition. The colonel speaks out against it, but the president enlists him and orders him to destroy the satellite control base. After some time, the president reports that scientists have detected a satellite targeting their region, and if a strike follows, the last 4 million people will die. The plane with the new expedition sets off. The pilot flies as low as possible to the ground to hide from the satellite. Anna admits to Parker that the leadership of the new states believes that her father is alive and that he is now in control of the superweapon, but she does not believe it. The plane flies over frozen Europe and comes under attack from a satellite. However, people were ready for this and managed to jump from the plane on 2 special snowmobiles equipped with parachutes. After landing, they continue to move. The road is dangerous on these snowmobiles because after the comet strikes, earthquakes constantly occur, which cause cracks. After some time, the snowmobiles reach Cologne and drive onto the bridge. The guy asks to drive slowly and carefully, but the colonel orders him to speed up. As a result, the colonel's car falls directly onto a growing ice sheet. Parker stops his car and gets to the snowmobile hanging on an ice block. He stretches a cable with which people are saved. Parker helps Anna get out and is the last to leave the fallen car. The group moves on the remaining snowmobile, but after a while an accident occurs. While the technicians are fixing the car, Parker and Anna examine the surrounding houses. On the door of one, they find an inscription asking for help. But when they go inside, they only find a long frozen family. Having repaired the snowmobile, they move on and reach Berlin, which is completely covered in snow. Anna paves the way to the Institute, but the colonel decides to get there on a sleigh so as not to risk the last snowmobile and be able to get out back. Parker and Sarah go on reconnaissance and stop on the roof of the Reichstag. Suddenly, they come under fire. They immediately return to the snowmobile, but see the car explode. However, the colonel gets in touch. It turns out that people managed to leave the car, and now the military is ordering everyone to escape. The military is trying to locate the enemy when Anna finds a passage underground. The group goes down and ends up in the Berlin Underground, where people meet a little girl. She is scared, but Parker, with the help of the dog and chocolate, wins her trust. The girl takes the group to the townspeople who survived the disaster and went underground. The survivors tell the expedition that they were helped by a certain doctor who was at the base in the Reichstag and show the way to him. The girl they found decides to go with them. After some time, the team gets to the right place and finds themselves in a greenhouse under the glass dome of the Reichstag. People are looking for the doctor and go out into a room overgrown with greenery, in the middle of which sits a blind old man. Anna recognizes her father, and the professor is very glad that his daughter is alive and greets the military. However, he is not related to satellite attacks. There are also guards here, because after the end of the storms, dangerous people began to come from the north. While the colonel is asking about the security system, his men are attacked. Having learned about the activation of the satellite, the professor says that, apparently, his assistant Hinsa is to blame. The professor himself wanted to expand the effect of the beam, which would lead to a change in weather conditions. Anna realizes that if the cloud cover is fired upon, an artificial fire will be lit above the ground, causing a climate change. The doctor asks to take him to the Institute immediately. It turns out that Hinsa's people have removed all the sentries and are now holding the group at gunpoint. Their commander demands to lower their weapons and convince the professor that all this is being done with the best intentions. At this moment, Parker gives a sign to the girl, and she throws a stone into the glass dome. The militants are distracted by the sound of glass breaking. A shootout begins in which the attackers are killed, but the professor also received injuries incompatible with life. The man dies, after which Sarah suggests they hurry before Hinsa finds out about the death of his group. Parker persuades Anna to leave her father's body, and they go to the Space Institute. They get out into the subway and find themselves surrounded by survivors. Having learned about the death of the doctor, they decide that he was killed by those who came and are preparing to shoot them. But the leader of the survivors notices the girl and asks her questions. She points out some of Hinsa's people among the underground inhabitants as real murderers, after which they are dealt with. The colonel's group goes to the Institute. Parker asks the girl and his dog to wait for them here in safety, but when people leave, she and the dog silently follow them. The group reaches the Institute and finds a distraught Hinz, who is planning to destroy the remaining humanity. Sarah deals with Hinz. On the video surveillance, the group sees that the girl from the subway is following in their footsteps. Parker goes after her. Meanwhile, in the laboratory, Sarah Henley kills Colonel Waters and reveals her plan to Anna. She was sent not to destroy the satellite, but to seize control over it. Parker returns with the girl. Together with Anna, he manages to defeat Sarah. The girl is trying to reprogram the satellite so that its rays will change the atmosphere over Europe. Parker searches for his former home, where he finds his dead family in their farewell letter. Tom and Anna with the surviving townspeople come to the surface, and the rays of the sun break through the clouds. The satellite was reprogrammed, and now humanity has a chance to survive.